YouTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie. So I read this book earlier this year, and I did talk about it a little during my wrap up. But I kind of want to talk about it more and do a bit of a review on it. So this is my first Curtin Vonnegut. I had Slaughterhouse 5, or at least my sister had it, and then she passed it on to me. And I never got around to it, and I distinctly remember someone telling me that I probably wouldn't like it. But that was years ago, and I might like it now. I mean, I don't even know if they were right back then. Maybe, my experience, my views on it are different. They are a different person, so they, just because they don't think I would like it does not mean it would have been true even back then. But anyway, I definitely enjoyed this one. This is a bit of a dystopian story. It's set in this world where we have our main character, Dr. Paul Proteus, and we are in a world that is run by machines. And you just have, and everybody, a lot of the wealthier people who have certain skills, they can operate machines, and if they have higher IQs, they are considered a doctor because they are a doctor of machines. And Paul is, he's very comfortable, but his wife has been encouraging him to take a promotion, and he's kind of been hesitant because he's content with his current life situation. But then when a friend of his shows up, a friend that his wife and his mentor and colleague don't really like, and he's a bit rebellious, comes back into town, things start to take a turn, and he starts to question the system and start to wonder if maybe he wants to do more than just let a machine do everything, and he wants to live, and maybe he wants to actually be more active and go back to the way things used to be, the way the world was before machines took over. This book definitely reminded me of a lot of the older dystopians, not the young adult ones like Divergent or Hunger Games, but more like, 1984 or Brave New World or Fahrenheit 451 or even The Circle. In fact, I think this was like similar to The Circle in where it was closer to where things are now in our society, what we're concerned about now, which is, because people spend so much time on social media that, it's like social media has taken over our lives. In fact, I just watched a video about this booktuber's concerned about anti-intellectualism, the spreading trend of that. But like I said, this one isn't, because, Kurt Vonnegut had no way of knowing that social media would happen and that we would be spending chronically online. So his idea is that machines are taking over. Like, he's more focused on the concept of AI. And, I mean, AI is now coming into play, and people are concerned about that. But this is more of a, not necessarily like, where they do have AI in the story, but they don't. There's a scene where they're at a office party, and Paul is narrating to us that they have talked about the idea of using AI as the servers in this facility, this place where they're having this party, and they decided against it. So they won't go that far. So the people will not go that far, but they still will let machines do everything for them. And there is a rebellion in this community of people that are wanting to get things back to the old-fashioned way of doing things ourselves and not letting machines do everything. And they make some good, the Rex, like, there's a lot of interesting arguments, and you can understand why people would feel like having machines do everything makes life easier for us. We don't have to worry about anything, we don't have to worry, we just sit there and, you know, wear our nice suits and all we have to do is like sign papers and put data into a computer system. And it makes life more, you can focus on more pleasurable activities and just doing the fun activities for the office. Like, there's a big thing that they do where in their company where they have this big like gathering of all the employees. They play these big all these competitions, and they have teams, and kind of like a field day, like, what you have in elementary school, where there's one day a year once it starts to get warm again where you just run around outside and play all these different games with your classmates. And it's kind of like that. I remember my dad at his office had something like that. So, like, with machines doing everything, all they have to worry about is stuff like that. They don't have to worry about, trying to build things or get things done. Get the information they need. They just put the data in the computer system and it will do it for them. And it's kind of creepy, actually. It's very creepy and unsettling. And Paul starts to realize, I don't know if I like this anymore, because he starts to kind of miss, want to get nostalgic for a time when he did more, he exercised more, he did a lot more physical activity. Because even in people's homes, they have, robots, or not robots, but they have machines doing everything for them. In fact, there is, at one point in the story, Paul, as this is a vacation for him and his wife, that he buys an old-fashioned farmhouse for them to, or rents one out for them to, have as a vacation home. And the guy the real estate agent is trying to talk him out of it. It's like, you shouldn't buy this. It's not worth it because you're going to have to do all the work yourself. And the caretaker, his rule is that he gets to stay on and build and keeps the house exactly the way it is, which is very what is considered, and is very quote unquote old fashioned, because everything is like, you have to operate, wind the clock yourself. You have to do everything yourself. You have to, there's no, the electricity is, I think they had electricity, but it was not like, again, there were no machines basically. And, he thinks it's a great idea, and, he's all for it, the real estate agent is trying to talk him out of it. He's like, no, I want to do this. And my wife loves this kind of stuff. And for her, of course, his wife is like, oh, this is a collection of things, kind of how people collect memorabilia of car memorabilia or something, or comic book, older comic books, or, old baseball cards and stuff. She collects these old-fashioned items the items that were used before they had machines that operated everything, like old clocks, old houses, and all that. She collects that stuff. So at first she's all excited and thinks it's so sweet and everything, and then she realizes, oh, he wants to actually live here. And it's like, oh no, are you serious? We can't do that. We have to do this all of ourselves. We're not going to be able to, because they're so used to machines doing everything for them. And she tries to talk him out of it. And he makes her believe that she was successful at talking him out of it, but he still has his heart set on this house. Which him and his wife have a very interesting relationship, because his wife is very much she very much, kind of controls him. Like, when he shows her the house and she tries to use her womanly wiles and to get him to be like, oh, no, you're not gonna do that. You say, but you're just joking. You're not really gonna do that. or she's the one who, there's a big promotion to go to this other state, to the other part of the company, and she is kind of trying to get that promotion for him. Like, which, yeah, it means more money, this promotion. And she's the one who's monitoring everything and trying to control and trying to, trying to tell him exactly what to say to his boss. And then when he doesn't do it, she's the one, she talks to the boss. She very much is controlling the situation, trying to control her husband. Like, she's got him wrapped around her little finger. And there's not a lot of passion in their relationship. I mean, they say things like "I love you" and everything. Switch. My arm's getting tired. They say things like "I love you" and everything, and they will always say, but they're very formal with each other, very civil with each other, and there's not a lot of affection between them. I mean, they act like there is, but it's kind of almost fake. It's almost not real. It's very mechanical, their affection for each other. Any affection that they might have for each other. I also noticed that there's so many different people trying to control Paul. Even his friend who shows up that, the others don't really care for and don't trust and feel like he's ruined thing. He's a threat to the company and everything. He doesn't follow the guideline. He doesn't, there's a word for that, like, he, teeters on the edge of, not following the rules, but even he's kind of trying to get inside Paul's head and control him a little bit. But his wife is, and his dad had died, and so the company is run by, like, I don't know if it's actually his uncle, his dad's brother, or a friend that he's, when he was a kid, he saw him as an uncle because they were so close. But he's definitely like, oh, what would your father say? Or you should listen to, oh, your father is so proud of you. You're going to be just like him. And the wife is like, telling him, oh, you're going to do it my way, or I know what's best for you. So throughout, there's so many people whispering in his ear, on his shoulder, telling him, like, his wife is the angel, and and his old friend is the little devil, almost, like, whispering in his ear, telling him how he should be, and he's trying to make his own decision about everything, and he's just slowly, like, this is just slow build to someone who's ready to break away from the system, break out of the system, break out of the the being one of the wheels, trying to be a wheel that breaks away from it. And throughout the whole book, it slowly builds until he, considers completely rebelling. And it's so many interesting scenes, and, it's funny how Slaughterhouse-Five made such an impression on people that people still remember it, but, I feel like this is what people should talk about, especially, with the whole, there was a time when dystopian was a big thing. I would love to see this included in the dystopian, just so popular dystopian books. Also, I also thought it was interesting that when there's the guy, the caretaker of the little farmhouse, that Paul goes to, he kind of questions the idea of calling everybody's now considered a doctor. Like, and he brings up that this whole point of, being a doctor used to mean something. Like, being a doctor is someone that you actually have the science and the math to actually take care of someone's mental, like, physical and mental health. And, they treat it as, everyone's a doctor because they have supposedly the right intelligence to work on machines. So, and this guy kind of rolls his eyes at that. And, like, he questions Paul. Like, he's like, because he thinks he's another one of the people, another one of the cogs in the machine that is only sees this as something fun and wants to change everything. Like, in fact, it's his wife who wants to take all the cute things of this old-fashioned house and bring it to their home, or add all this technology to the house so that they can actually operate this house. Like, machines will do it for them. And Paul's the one that does want to preserve it. And he does prove a little bit that he does care about it, that he does want to preserve it. Though the caretaker does give him a hard time for a while, until I don't remember what it was, the moment, but it was something that Paul said that, like, I don't know if it was that he had to ask it. He was saying, I want you to do this as a favor or something. Asked him to do something for him. I don't remember, but there was a turning point for him in the caretaker. But I also really found it that, I mean, I haven't seen this yet, that the class system is divided by IQ. Which, although we do kind of have that a little bit, where, because your IQ can determine how much education you get, and if you're gonna get enough education to get a really nice, cushy job. Because you need certain, amount of intelligence, certain skills, and that the system is partly how these people are classed is often by your IQ. Like, if you have a low IQ, then you're gonna have more labor jobs or hard labor. You're not gonna get to work in a nice cushy office because you don't have the right amount of intelligence. And even then, there's also this caveat of, if you have more than 100, your IQ is over 100, then they're gonna keep an eye on you. They're not gonna trust you, because you can't be smarter than a machine. So I thought the fact that the class system was based on your IQ was intriguing as well. Like, I had not seen that before in any of the dystopians I've read. But definitely, I'm not really surprised, because sometimes, that does, your IQ can affect the kind of, does in real life, can potentially affect the kind of job you get. So yeah, I think people should read this. I think it would be it would be very relatable. Like, I mean, very, or not relatable, but definitely worth thinking about. Because people, like I said, people always talk about, you read books like 1984 and Fahrenheit 451 in school, and then, but I have not heard, this is the first time I ever had heard this book, Player Piano. I still don't understand the title, I admit. I mean, I think it has something to do with Paul's friend. I do not remember his name, but it's been, like, I read this back in February, and it's almost the end of March, so. But yeah, please check this one out. Let me see. I have, pages. Let me see if I can. I don't remember. I had these pages dog-eared, and there was something on the page that I liked. But I don't remember why. I mean, but I was hoping that I would find, like, a quote or something, but I would have to really go through it. But please check this out. Like, I think this is a dystopian people are missing out on. If you don't like I know that, not everybody loves Slaughterhouse-Five, but maybe you'll like this one. I will read Slaughterhouse-Five at some point, but the next Kurt Vonnegut, I've said this already, then is probably going to be, that I'm going to read is I can't say it. Galapagos. But yes, please check this one out if you like dystopians. I hope you like this review, and I will talk to y'all later. All right, bye.